Hello students, welcome back to our channel. In today's topic, we are going to discuss about the cells, tissues and the organization of the body. Where in this chapter, we'll be covering about the cell, its structure and functions, about the plasma membrane, organelles, the cell cycle, transport of substance across cell membranes, tissues, epithelial tissue, connective tissue, muscle tissue, nervous tissue, tissue regeneration, and also about the membranes, glands, organization of the body, its anatomical terms, the skeleton, axial, and appendicular, cavities of the body, cranial cavity, thoracic cavity, abdominal cavity, pelvic cavity, changes in the cell size and number, whereas cell death, and also about the neoplasms or the tumors, causes of neoplasm, growth of tumors, effects of tumors, causes of death in malignant disease. So, cells are the body's smallest functional units. They are grouped together to form tissues, each of which has a specialized function. Example blood, muscle, bone. Different tissues are grouped together to form organs. Example the heart, stomach, and brain. Organs are grouped together to form systems, each of which performs a particular function that maintains homeostasis and contributes to the health of the individual. For example, the digestive system is responsible for taking in, digesting, and absorbing food, which involves a number of organs, including the stomach and intestine. The structure and functions of the cell and types of tissues are explored in this chapter. The terminology is used to describe the anatomical relationship between body parts, the skeleton, and the cavities within the body are then considered. The final section considers features of benign and malignant tumor, their causes, and how they grow and may spread. So, figure 3.1 is just the explanation of how a simple cell structure and what are the nutrients which contains centrosome, centrioles, nuclear envelope, nucleolus, ribosome, mitochondria, plasma membrane, cytoplasm, lysosomes, Golgi apparatus, which always surrounds the mitochondria. Nucleus, a rough endoplasmic reticulum with ribosomes, smooth endoplasmic reticulum without ribosomes. So, what's basically a cell? The structure and function. Human body envelops from a single cell called the zygote, which results from the fusion of the ovum, a female egg cell, and the spermatozoa, male sex cell. Cell division follows, and as the fetus grows, cell with a different structural and functional specialization develop. All with the same genetic makeup as the zygote, individual cells are too small to be seen with the naked individual. So the small can be by the eye. However, they can be seen when a thin slice of tissues are stained in the laboratory and magnified using a microscope. Basically, a cell consists of a plasma membrane enclosing a number of organelles suspended in a watery fluid called the cytosol. Organelles, literally small organs, have individual and highly specialized functions and are often enclosed in their own membrane within the cytosol. They include the nucleus, mitochondria, ribosomes, endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, and the cytoskeleton. The cell contains, excluding the nucleus and the cytoplasm, that is the cytosol and other organelle. Plasma membrane. The plasma membrane consists of, sorry, the plasma membrane consists of two layers of phospholipids with proteins and sugar embedded in them. In addition to phospholipids, the lipid cholesterol is also present. The phospholipid molecules have a head, which is electrically charged and hydrophilic, meaning water loving, and a tail, which has no charge and is hydrophobic, means water hating. The phospholipid bilayer is arranged like a sandwich with a hydrophilic head aligned on outer surface of the membrane and the hydrophobic tails forming a central water repelling layer. These differences influence the transfer of substance across the membrane. Membrane proteins. These proteins that extend all the way through the membrane provide channel that allow the passage of and through example electrolytes, non-lipid soluble substance. Protein molecules on the surface of the plasma membrane are shown. The membrane proteins perform several functions. Branched carbohydrate molecules attached to the outside of some membrane protein molecules give the cell its immunological identity. They can act as receptor, specific recognition sites for hormones and other chemical messenger. Some are enzymes, transmembrane proteins of some channel that are filled with water and allow very small water soluble ions in across the membrane. Some are involved in pumps that transport substance across the membrane. Organelles. Nucleus. All body cells have a nucleus with the exception of the mature erythrocyte, red blood cell. Skeletal muscle fibers and some other cells contain several nuclei. The nucleus is the largest organelle and is contained within the nuclear envelope, a membrane similar to the plasma membrane, but with tiny pores through which some substance can pass between it and cytoplasm. The nucleus contains the body's genetic material in the form of deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. This directs all its metabolic activities in non-dividing cell DNA in present as a fine network of threads called chromatin. But when the cell prepares to divide, the chromatin forms distinct structures called chromosomes. A related substance, ribonucleic acid RNA, is also found in the nucleus. There are different types of RNA, not all found in the nucleus, but which are in general involved in protein synthesis. Within the nucleus is a roughly spherical structure called the nucleolus, which is involved in the synthesis, manufacture, and assembly of the components of ribosome. Mitochondria. Mitochondria are membranous sausage-shaped structures in the cytoplasm, sometimes described as the powerful house of the cell. They are central to aerobic respiration, the process by which chemical energy is made available in the cell. This is the form of ATP, which release energy when the cell breaks it down. Synthesis of ATP is most efficient in the final stages of aerobic respiration, a process which requires oxygen. The most active cell types have the greatest number of mitochondria. Example, liver, muscle, and spermatozoa. Ribosomes. These are tiny granules composed of the RNA and protein. They synthesize proteins from amino acids using RNA as the template. When present in free units or in small cluster in the cytoplasm, the ribosomes make proteins for use within the cell. These include the enzymes required for metabolism. Metabolic pathway consists of a series of steps, each driven by a specific enzyme. Ribosomes are also found on the outer surface of the nuclear envelope and roughly endoplasmic reticulum, where they manufacture proteins for export from the cell. And now let's discuss about the endoplasmic reticulum. Endoplasmic reticulum is an extensive series of interconnecting membranous canals in the cytoplasm. There are two types, smooth and rough. Smooth ER synthesis lipids and steroid hormones and is also associated with the detoxification of some drugs. Some of the lipids are used to replace and repair the plasma membrane and the membranes of the organelles. Rough ER is studded with ribosome. These are the site of synthesis of proteins, some of which are exported from cells. Example, enzymes and hormones that leaves the parent cell by exocytosis to be used by cells elsewhere. Next, Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus consists of stacks of closely folded flattened membranous sac It is present in all cells, but in larger in those that synthesis and export proteins. The proteins move from the endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi apparatus, where they are packed into membrane bound vesicles. The vesicles are stored, and when needed, they move to the plasma membrane and fuse with it. The contents are expelled, secreted from the cell. This process is called exocytosis. Lysosomes. Lysosomes are small membranous vesicles pinched off from the Golgi apparatus. They contain a variety of enzymes involved in breaking down fragments of organelles and large molecules, RNA, DNA, carbohydrates, proteins, inside the cell into smaller particles that are either recycled or extruded from the cell as waste material. Lysosomes in white blood cells contain enzymes that digest foreign material such as microbes. Exoskeleton. Cytoskeleton. Cytoskeleton consists of an extensive network of tiny protein fiber, microfilaments. These are the smallest fibers. They provide structural support, maintain the characteristic shape of the cell, and permit contraction. Example, actin and muscle cells. Microtubules. These are larger contractile protein fibers that are involved in the movement of organelles within the cell. Chromosomes during cell division, cell extension. Centrosome. This directs organization of microtubules within the cell. It consists of a pair of centriole, small cluster of microtubule, and plays an important role in the cell division. Cell extensions. These project from the small membrane in some types of cell and their main component are microtubules, which allow movement. They include microvilli, tiny projections that contain microfilaments. They cover the exposed surface of certain types of cell. Example, absorptive cell that line the small intestine. By greatly increasing the surface area, microvilli make the structure of these cells ideal for their function, maximizing absorption of nutrients from the small intestine. Cilia, microscopic hair-like projections containing microtubules that lie along the free border of some cells. They beat in unison, moving substance along the surface. Example, mucus, upward the respiratory tract. So these are some of the images. Colored scanning electron micrograph of microvilli in the small intestine. So in the next video, we'll just discuss about the cell cycle.